Card Shop TCG Simulator is supposed to be a game about starting a card shop, selling cards, opening packs, and all that fun stuff. But while I was playing the game recently, I made the mistake of watching some spiffing Brit videos. That inspired me to think, are there any fair and balanced mechanics here? And what would happen if you started a card shop and you didn't sell a single card? And so that's exactly what I set out to do. And to my surprise, it worked way better than I could have expected. So sit down in your comfy chair, grab yourself a pot of coffee, and let's get into things. And so let's begin to see if you can actually run a successful card shop and make at least $10,000 in a single day without selling a single card. To be clear, that doesn't mean without selling a card on the day that I make 10,000. It means without selling a single card ever for the entire course of a save file. First up, we need a name. Well, calling it a card shop would be a little bit disingenuous. We wouldn't want to clickbait these poor customers now, would we? So instead, we're going to call it something else, something that's not suspicious at all. I'm 100% sure when people see the sign, they'll know exactly what we're going to be selling. So here we have a nice empty shop. The first thing we need is some product. But this is also where we're going to encounter the first problem, because everything in the game unlocks as you level up. So if I want to expand my shop, put in new furniture, or buy things like cleanser and card sleeves, the things I can actually sell since they aren't cards, I need to be at least level 2. And the only thing I can buy are basic booster packs. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing at the start of the game. But don't worry, this isn't breaking the promise. I'm not going to sell a single card, I'm just going to buy them. Because there's two main sources of EXP as you play Card Shop TCG Simulator. The first is gaining EXP as you sell items. So, the more items a given customer buys, the more EXP you get from the transaction. The second is by opening card packs. The rarer the cards you pull from the pack, the more experience you get. So that's exactly what we're going to do here, opening this box of 64 packs to get enough experience to buy some other items. So it's time to skip ahead using a little editing magic. So this is the final pack, and as you can see, we are now shop level 2, which means we can afford the things that we were looking to buy earlier. These card packs really are a very good source of EXP, even if you're playing the game the intended way. Normally they'd also be a pretty good source of profits, but we can't use them that way. They're just going to sit in our collection forever. So now it's time to buy a new license, both for cleanser and of course the card sleeves, and start buying some products. I'm going to start with a couple cleansers, quite a few card sleeves, since the card sleeves are cheap and very easy to sell in bulk. So give me a minute to fill all the shelves, and then it's time to talk pricing, because I'm going to be doing something a little bit interesting here. Normally, the game encourages you to price things above the market price. In fact, you can even see it in the task on the left, the game's little tutorial at the start. But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to be pricing these card sleeves very slightly below the market price. Because if you price something slightly below the market price, it vastly encourages customers to buy it, and buy more of it. And that is because right now, the goal isn't maximizing profits. It's getting sales, and selling as many items as possible. Because remember, the primary factor in determining how much EXP you get from a sale isn't how much the items sell for or how profitable they are. It's how many of them you sell. So in an attempt to get EXP and level up the shop, so that we can buy more licenses and sell a wider variety of, hopefully more profitable products, the goal is simply going to be to sell as much stuff as possible. So now, let's wait for a customer to come in and see how that goes. So as customers come in and they approach the shelves, you'll notice they say things like, "Wow, so cheap, what a bargain, it's a really good deal." And they also fill their bag with as many items as it'll hold, or at the very least as many items as they can afford. Because again, it is a good deal. The goal isn't to maximize the profits. The goal is to get as much experience as possible and level up. And so after just a couple of sales, those levels are absolutely flying and the shop has hit level 3. So now let's check back in at the end of the day and see how things go for the rest of day 1. It's 9 p.m. The last customer has left the shop. We're almost level 5 now, and we had about $1,000 in revenue. This isn't profit, because remember, we are spending something on the stock, but this is revenue. So the plan to focus on card sleeves and sell cheap junk is absolutely working. For now, let's keep going with this, level the shop up a little bit more, and come back in a few days. So as it turns out, the sell cheap junk method has been remarkably effective. Not only are the levels flying, but customers are buying everything. And I did get a few more licenses. First of all, I picked up plushes. These tend to be relatively high profit margin, but they don't tend to sell in bulk. Whereas the playmats definitely sell in bulk, much like the card sleeves. You don't sell quite as many of them, but it's still not only a considerable driver of EXP, but a decent amount of profit as well. In fact, one thing that surprised me is just how much profit I'm making. Because I thought, Card Shop Simulator, some people are going to come in only for cards, get angry when you don't have any, and leave. Turns out that isn't how the customers are coded. They're coded to want and buy items. A few times, they will look for specific things, be it a deck box that I don't have because obviously I haven't bought the license, or a card pack that I'm not selling. But this is by far the rarity. Most customers are simply looking to buy junk, and the cheaper the better. And so thus far, this strategy has been remarkably effective. How effective, you say? Well, let's head to the end of the day and you can see the staggering numbers for yourself. Around 63 customers entered the shop throughout the course of a day. Most of them left after purchasing something, and the net revenue was, surprisingly, almost $4,000. That isn't net profit, some of that was spent to replenish stock. However, this is working way better than I could have expected. So it's time to continue like this for just a little bit more, get some EXP to unlock some extra licenses, get some money to use, and then it's time to start expanding the shop to get more customers in, and of course to have more space to display more products. Now that we're on day 7 and the shop is level 10, it's time to do some more expansions. The bigger your shop is, and the higher your level, the more customers who come in on a given day. After all, a bigger shop can hold more customers. But of course, you need to have enough products to actually serve all of these customers. If they completely empty your shelves, then you're not going to be selling very much. And with so many customers coming in and all of them buying something rather than sitting down at a card table or browsing singles, it's certainly been quite a bit to keep up with. So one of the things that I've been doing to mitigate this is doubling up on items with the shelves. That way, instead of only having 20 card sleeves, for example, I have 40 card sleeves all ready to go. If someone buys a bunch, there should still be more for the next customer. One thing that's going to be integral in that is having double-sided shelves. These are very, very space efficient because they hold 8 things and they're double-sided, which means they actually hold 16 things. It's much better than the single-sided shelf or even the deep shelf that I've been using. So I'm just going to quickly hit level 11, purchase a double-sided shelf, and then slowly start moving things over. Though if I'm doing it in the middle of a day, there's probably going to be a few too many customers, as after all, I don't want too many people piling up at the register, and I certainly don't want people taking things off of the shelves before they've been correctly priced. And so far, the plan of keeping prices low has been remarkably effective. Things are flying off the shelves, which is a little bit unfortunate, as sometimes I don't have time to restock. So it's about time to get an employee. He won't be the best, in fact, he's pretty darn slow, but he's certainly better than nothing, and will mean that a lot of the pressure goes off of me, goes onto him. He can stock the shelves while I man the register. Splitting up labor like this should be significantly more efficient, and as long as products aren't running out, should make the store more profitable as well. Plus, this guy's cheap. He's only like $50 a day. At this rate, I think I'm going to be able to make $10,000 a day, or something very close to that around level 25. This is just guessing based on how much I've made recently, and how much it increased when I started getting those shop unlocks. So my plan is to maximize EXP gains for a few more levels, then start switching a little bit more towards profitability. Because as I switch towards profitability, I'll be able to do things like maintain multiple employees, get additional licenses, and fill my shop with a wider variety of stock. This is going to be important, because after all, the more things that you have, and the more things people buy at a higher price, the more revenue that you make in a day, which if your goal is to make $10,000, well, that's exactly what you've got to do. But as you can see, even having just the basic slow employee is still way more effective than having no employee at all. Yeah, the floor's kind of a mess. I'll get some warehouse shelves. I'll take care of all of that soon. I just need to level up a few more times. But for now, he's doing a good job of keeping the shelves at least mostly stocked so that I can sit here on the register taking care of the endless flow of customers. So now I'm going to jump ahead a few days again, get to like level 20 or maybe slightly before, where I plan to expand my shop, buy lot B, and get a whole bunch of extra licenses. Over the past couple days, I've saved up quite a bit of money, and now it's time to spend. 12,000 should be just about enough. I've got a new shelf, I'm going to buy some licenses, I'm going to buy the shop expansion, which costs 5,000, and I'm also going to be changing all the prices, because before now, for most things, I've been sticking pretty darn close to, or ideally, just slightly below market price on most items, especially on things like the card sleeves that you can sell in bulk very easily. And to be fair, for the card sleeves, I'm definitely going to keep them low still, probably the same as I was doing before. because I want more EXP, so I want to sell them in bulk. But for everything else, it's time to start maximizing profits. So I'm going to aim for around market price plus 10% round. This is something that I've personally found to be very effective, and so far, if it worked for me in the normal game, I'm sure it's going to work for me in this run. And unfortunately, this is the point where I made a small mistake. See, I was paying so much attention to my nice shiny new shelves, buying a whole bunch of licenses, filling them with stock, making everything look pretty and setting the prices, but I kind of forgot that I needed $5,000 if I was going to buy the shop expansion, which is a lot of money. And as you can see from the top right, it's a lot of money that I don't have right now. So I guess it's time to open up the shop and hope that within a day I can get back up to $5,000. I mean, after all, how hard can it be? There's certainly plenty of things for sale and plenty of customers who are willing to buy them. So after completing the rest of the day, maybe I was worried over nothing. This has been a very, very profitable day. I'm just below $7,000 for the day in revenue, which is 70-ish% of my goal. Not only that, but I have more than enough money to buy the shop expansion, which means more customers are going to come in, which is going to increase the profitability even more. So from here, the thing to do is continue with the same. As the shelves get empty, I'm going to buy stock to restock them. As I'm able to, I'm going to hire a second employee to make the stocking a little easier, and as any future licenses unlock, I'm going to buy them. But aside of that, nothing big is going to change until level 25, because, as I said, I'm pretty sure level 25 is right about when I'm going to be able to make that $10,000 a day. So it's time to do a few more days worth of grinding. Alrighty, so the setup took a little bit longer than I was expecting. This is for a couple reasons. First up, I needed the level 27 shop expansion. Second up, I needed to really refine what I was going to be selling. Because if you sell cheap junk, that's very good for EXP, but it's not really good for profit. Okay, percentage-wise, sure, you're making great profit off of the card sleeves. But in terms of absolute values, i.e., what we need to reach plus $10,000 in revenue in a given day, it's not very good. And so in that regard, I took quite a bit of time to really fine-tune things down, to go for things that were worth $20 or more. I had a couple products that were worth just slightly less since I didn't want to leave open shelf space. But overall, the goal was everything sold for $20 and up, and I also adjusted prices to be either a little bit higher or a little bit lower relative to the market to really try to hone in on getting people to buy a whole bunch of stuff. I tried some card tables. That didn't really help very much. I tried more products. I tried less products. I tried all sorts of things. What I ended up finding is market price, more or less, is really good on the plushies. Market price plus 10% works for deck boxes and dice, and market price plus 10%, maybe even just a little bit higher, works really well for playmats. Those were the things that were getting me consistently the highest number of items sold, at least within this short time window, because I suspect part of this depends on price fluctuations. So with all of that, I had plenty of warehouse space, tons of shelves, extra stuff so nothing would sell out during the day. I had a cashier, that way if I needed to restock something, things didn't get slowed down and people didn't pile up that much. And so that was the setup that I used. And it was remarkably effective. All throughout the day, I was on pins and needles, like, is this sale going to go through? Is this sale going to go through? Is this sale going to... Yes, the sale went... And finally, yes, at the end of this, I got over $10,000 in a single day in sales without selling a single card. Is this something good? Is this something that you should do if you want to play optimally? No. I think there are elements of it which you should do and can learn from. For example, if you want a lot of EXP, sell as many card packs as possible, and also sell as many card sleeves as possible. While you're doing this, try to open card packs. These are all great generators of EXP, because remember, EXP largely comes from the number of items sold, not their price. On the other hand, if you want to start amping up your profits, you want to cut a lot of those things because the individual price per sale is low. Customers seem to buy a certain amount of items and a certain price worth of items. So when they fill their bag with really low value stuff, that actually hurts your total sale number, at least in terms of your bottom line. It would also be ideal to look for things with higher margins, something that I was doing at one point, but towards the end I eschewed because all I wanted was the total 10,000, the big shiny number. I wasn't going for profit here. And in terms of card tables, Well, if you haven't used them all game and you're only getting the $5 an hour, then yeah, cutting them entirely is a good idea. But based on my experience playing normally, I don't think that's actually the route to go, because at a minimum, you want to have a few of them, you want to have people constantly sitting down and playing, so that you can unlock tournaments and use those to influence the prices of cards. If you're able to raise the price of a high value card over the course of a couple days before selling it, you are able to get significantly more money. So you at the very least need to have access to those tournaments. Though I certainly wouldn't fill my shop with nothing but card tables. Or actually, maybe I would. Maybe that sounds like a very fun challenge run. We'll see. Let me know down below if you want to see that I built nothing but card tables challenge run, and also get subscribed, leave a like while you're down there, so that way you can find your way back if I do end up making that video. With all of that said, if you want to learn more about how to play the game the intended way, I have a beginner's guide that you can find up in the card and down below, along with some of my initial impressions on the game. With that said, I'm pretty surprised at how this run turned out, both in terms of how well it worked and also how it stalled out. Because for the first 10 or so levels, it worked way better than I expected. I was making way more money than I thought, despite not having any cards for sale. But because I was kind of over-relying on selling cheap junk, my profits did plateau around the $7,000 mark, even as I kept expanding my shop and adding employees and adding more product types. So it really took quite a bit of trial and error to dial in, realize what prices are too high, what prices are too low, where I can find that Goldilocks zone, and also what products to carry to maximize my sales. All of these things do generally apply to the main game as well, so it was very much an interesting learning experience. Thank you very much for watching to the end. I'm glad you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.